Jedno od najstarijih pitanja ljudskog roda jest postoji li slobodna volja? Što se tiče odgovora na to pitanje, danas postoje dva suprotstavljena tabora. S jedne strane obale nalazi se determinizam, dok druga strana tvrdi da postoji neuvjetovana i neograničena slobodna volja. Tko je u pravu? Je li itko u pravu, s obzirom da se ta dva različita mentalna teritorija na logičke ili pak na neke čudne načine ponekad i preklapaju? Zašto je filozofska, etička i religijska rasprava koja traje od praskozorja civilizacije još neriješena i zašto je to pitanje uopće toliko važno? Uostalom, kakve su implikacije različitih odgovora? Pitanje slobodne volje bilo je jedno od središnjih tema danskog autora, filozofa i mistika Martinusa, pa smo tamo potražili i odgovore. Poslušat ćemo ih ovdje. Na Rubu Znanosti. Dobro večer. Daniel Opačić, međunarodni je predavač na temu kozmologije danskog filozofa i mistika Martinusa, ne po prvi put s nama. Dobro večer.
Dobro večer, good evening, and thank you for having me here again in this fine program.
Koga ne bi zanimalo riješiti konačno zagonetko slobodne volje? Eto, za početak, s obzirom da je to tema večerašnje emisije, što bi uopće po nekoj definiciji bila slobodna volja, na što se svodi pitanje slobodne volje?
Okay, according to philosophical standard dictionaries, there are of course many definitions. One of them is the ability to act decisively on a selected choice. Another one, more with a psychological flavor, is to guide behavior in accordance with rationale. On the other side, Martinus spiritual science, which solved many big questions of life, including free will riddle, defines free will in a very comprehensive way. It's a power identical to life force which is released during the cycle condition, eternal process of reincarnation of light particles or photons into a spiritual sphere of existence. Then what's nature and way of expression of free will? That's determined by inner cosmic structure. And the sum of all automatic wills of all living beings in the universe hold universe together. Very different way than the classic philosophical school. And of course, through program we would explain step by step an approach to this solution. Basically, what's the question of free will is, do we have control over our behavior or not? If we do, to what extent? For instance, you have individuals and nations believing that other individuals and nations should behave accordingly or as expected from them. And in a majority of cases, it doesn't happen that way. Question is why? Then, for instance, you have a raper, convict, and he's released for one day, and already in the second hour he rapes someone out. He cannot respect the state law and any other law. He respects his own law. Or you have one mentality in one nation is prevailing, traditional, and then others expect that if they import from some advanced nation a complete legal system, that they would follow that system and behave accordingly. Won't happen. So you see, it's already we are entering the tricky area. And then how average people perceive the free will. Majority believe we do have free will, even though that they're mistreated with life, and they say like, whatever I wish or will didn't turn out my way, not knowing that even expressing concern is also release of the free will. And then you have minority which believe in unconditional free will. For instance, very creative and very artistic people, they accomplish what they want. But also, from different reasons, you have in some corrupt society, let's say, lawyers wheeler dealers, football club directors, tabloid stars. They also believe they have unconditional free will because whatever they decide during a day, it turns out positive for them. So what's common to all of them? It's they're all speak truth. Why? Because in cosmology, whoever says something speaks truth at its own level of development. And what's else common for them is that, for instance, if today is Monday, they cannot say or decide for tomorrow to be Friday. They cannot go in bed as a bodyguard and wake up as IT specialist. They cannot sit and stand at the same time. They cannot stop digestion or kidney function. They cannot, let's say, not to sleep for some days and not to drink water without having health consequences. So they recognize the existence of superior force. They don't know much about, they don't think much about, but if they would consider that life is one, but eternal, they would think of it.
Po pitanju slobodne volje vlada neki, rekli bismo, status quo tisućljećima. O tome se priča, razmišlja i pitanje je uopće koliko zapravo je bilo koji od tih odgovora bio kompletan. Pogotovo ako uključimo u istu priču i činjenicu da živimo u znanstveno doba kada se mnoga pitanja pokušavaju dokučiti znanstvenim putem i slično. Na koji način uopće se može pristupiti slobodnoj volji iz nekog znanstvenog kuta?
That's a very tricky question. Because, look, if some debate lasts for millennia, so everybody is a little bit right, but no one is right. So, basically, and those are debating the best minds throughout the history. Because it's a crucial question, is central question, philosophical questions with many practical life implications. And you basically have two camps. One is determinism, another is indeterminism. Determinists claim that everything we try has the previous cause, so it's predetermined. And indeterminists, they claim that these forces of nature are indeterministic. And then you have compatibilists, which state that free will is somehow coexisting with determinism, and incompatibilists which are opposing, obviously, the view. I suggest to the viewers to simply go to library and bookstores and tons of literature. But now we are talking about solution, not about the problem, so we'll leave it out. I will just tackle a few extreme cases just to illustrate how they are wrong. For instance, hard determinism. They imply that there is no free will because there is no control over natural laws or laws of nature, and free will is something incompatible with that. And basically what they imply is that future is same as the past, which cannot be. Future is negotiable. Or saying that we are robots or, I don't know, billiard balls or string puppets. On the other side, you have this shiny quantum theory, and Danish Niels Bohr was saying, I'm trying to quote, there is no correlation between freedom of will and indeterminism of natural forces. And also they have problem with the quarks' random movement. So where they can create these probability equations only in a mesocosmic area. And why they are wrong? Because order and chaos cannot coexist. The universe is the highest order irreducible complexity system. What it means? If you would introduce element of chaos, you would create domino effect and universe would collapse. But it didn't happen and won't happen. And of course you have many other theories because people come up with interesting things from the local perspective looking, but fortunately 2/3 of philosophers, they assume that compatibility of free will with determinism, and surprisingly major religions, with, of course, few exceptions. They say that God rules, but people are still can go astray, can be arrogant and have conscience.
Postoji li uopće način da se pitanju slobodne volje pristupi znanstveno?
Not really, because people don't have cosmic consciousness. And automatically they cannot create a proper logic and proper perspective. Under the best circumstances, they can cover 1/3 of the spiral cycle. In other words, they suspended themselves from the overview. As a result, they are obsessed with details. It's like you want a description of the architecture and purpose of the building, and they concentrate on one brick. They cannot give you in that way. Also, they don't know what's fixed point. So what they do through measurement is just comparing relative movements, which leads to nowhere. The best how this status of impotence to solve any big question of life was described was Martinus with the so-called cross sign model, which basically symbolizes the perfect sensory capacity of any being. You have vertical segment, which symbolizes natural order and looking at matter from the perspective of life. So all matter in universe revolves around the vertical axis, which is the all eyes of the universe. Contrary to that, the horizontal segment is looking at life from the perspective of matter, which materialists do. And they immediately create two walls. One is stellar nebulae, that's the image towards the microcosmos, and one is atomic stellar, its image towards the microcosmos. They're more or less visually identical, and they are stranded. The only way to move forward is to get back to this vertical axis and treat your own organism as cosmic structure. That way you can get rid of idea of identifying life with the human body, because you have forces of life that are active before conception and after the physical death. Also get rid of idea that reincarnation doesn't exist. People say, I don't remember. But you don't remember many episodes from this life, but no one questions occurrence, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not the case. And let's say they say when someone is murdered, oh, this is accident or car accident. There is no accident in nature. All in universe is according to causal law. So, and I would suggest for them, for this believer in a dead culture, as we call it, take two coffins for your funeral. One for the body and one for the knowledge. Why? Because there is no waste in the universe. And you invest so heavily in knowledge. And then what? Vanishes? So it's not the case. The fundamental evidence supporting the immortality exactly is our desire to know, to learn, to accumulate that and to recall it when it's needed.
Mnogi ljudi su opisivali svoje iskustva i susrete sa mrtvacima kao da je netko iskopčao struju, odnosno životnu silu, s obzirom da nije potpuno jasno što je ono što je činilo razliku između čovjeka koji neke sekunde leži mrtav, a prije nekog vremena je bio živ. No što bi onda, evo recimo prema Martinusu koji je pokušao naći jedan odgovor u kojem bi pomirio sve te dvojnosti iz prošlosti, što bi bilo onda slobodna volja? Koje bi bilo njeno značenje? Zašto je uvjetovana ili slobodna ako je uvjetovana i slično?
I understood your question. Look, Martinus solved all big questions of life. The way to do it is to put the proper cosmological perspective. So what would be the framework for this solution? Prevailing eternal condition for a living being to restore ability to re-experience life is passage to this infinity of succession of planes of existence. 6 of them make one spiral cycle, which is one cosmic breath. And the infinity of such spiral cycle create cosmic pulsation. And it's like climbing the spiral staircases all the time. Our will, your will, my will, any will, cannot influence that process. That's regulated by the cosmic laws and governed by the cosmic laws. So where is now our free will? It's very locally. It's like decorating some local details. Probably the best explanation for viewers to understand is breathing. We can stop breathing, right? We can slow down, we can accelerate, we can breathe shallow or deep, but we cannot abolish that function in any way. So from that point of view, it's clear the absolute basis for human behavior. It's not will, but commands will. And what directs us in this and that direction. And it's inner cosmic structure.
Dobro, sad kad smo ustanovili da jedino možemo birati boju pulovera, koji bi bilo u tom kozmološkom principu? Danas neki govore o Božje volji, neki govore o svemiru, neki govore o principima, ali više manje je riječ o dovoljno apstraktnim i nematerijalnim pojmovima da bismo ih mogli zapravo poistovjetiti. Koje bi bilo podrijetlo dobre volje? Otkuda ona uopće, čak i bez obzira da li pričali o kozmološkoj razini ili ovoj lokalnoj, jer očigledno da ima samo na te dvije razine, ako sam dobro pohvatao sve. Drugim riječima, što bi bilo njeno podrijetlo, zbog čega bi ona uopće i postojala?
Yeah, that's a really tough question that none, with the exception of Martinus cosmology, dealt with. Look, the I, in the most sense of our identity, has no contact with outside space and time dimensional world. But he needs it to experience life. It sends the energy, that's the cause, receives the energy after interaction, that's effect. And who is bridging out? That's superconsciousness. In order to generate force that would later on be expression of the will, one has to desire. But how is formed desire? You have to desire something, and at the same time, in the same intensity, to desire opposite of that something. By the way, Martinus said one phenomenal thing, that all created world is the victory over opposite in ourselves. So that's, we are really, really deep into the core of things now. So how it works? When this first mental impulse is created, it agitates something which represents Story's facility for our talents and abilities. That, in connection with our constellation of pole structure, by the way, on that depends our physical appearance and our way of behavior, and in correlation with the creative power which splits this universal energy and sixth vibrational band according to this original wish created at the very source. Then in our thought, it then appear in our subconscious thought. So we've been then aware in that moment about process that was going on for some time, right? We are talking about microseconds, but sometime figuratively speaking. And then we have man-made science entering and saying that random combination of chemicals in a brain and in a glands creates or modifies our behavior. That's wrong, simply because the created cannot be the creator. So you've never seen the car create satellite or hammer that creates bicycle. So our brain, our eyes, they're just the tools that I used in order to achieve its own goals. And how we can prove it? Before coming here, I was landing in one Eastern European country, and there people still read in the public transportation. And one man started to laugh suddenly. Obviously, he was motivated by the content of the book. And then lady made beautiful face. How? She recalled some image, mental image. Could be loved one, daughter, or some scene from the last vacation. or just silky touch of something. And I saw here in Zagreb one young girl on the street suddenly saddened because she saw, I guess, ex-boyfriend with another girl. And what happened? She reacted on outside effect, and immediately her signature frequency was changed. It changed electromagnetic waves, which changed the chemistry. So that's how it is.
Na koji način čovjek, kako ste rekli, mora zapravo odustajati od onog, dakle, kada ima nekakvu želju koji teži, u isto vrijeme mora biti naklonjen i suprotnom, odnosno da zapravo poništava ono što želi. Možete li to malo obrazložiti?
For instance, I sit here, and if I want to lay down at the same time, and I want to stand up, and I'm undecided in the same intensity, I'm devoid of the will. There is another example. For instance, if people don't have sufficient knowledge about something, or they cannot decide, we call that status no will. And that's a perfect place for political and economic propaganda. So they try to push them in one direction, to form desire, to shape the desire for them in order to buy some product or vote for some political party. So you simply have to create the force. And now we come to the question of, life force. Look, in the universe, no one energy stays forever. Everything is transformation and changing all the time, construction and dissolution. And what influences that movement? It's mental force. Mental force associated with each of our mental activity, which are thoughts. So why we don't wear one shoes or drive one car in a life? Because of aging process. Everything is subject in material world to wear and tear. Everything is subject, when you force something, and often it's subject of fatigue and cracking. The same is applicable for spiritual or mental fields, for spiritual energy. How we feel that? We are bored, we are sick and tired of some mental climate. And the reason why people live subcultural environments and oppressive environments like I did many, many years back, it's immigration. So you like to wear your old jeans like me, I guess, but we would never stay with outgrown mental climate, because it would be like someone wants to put you in a child-size mental outfit and you need XL. So Martinus noticed when we emit the energy from deep inside that you create war conditions or you create amplifying effect of pleasure. In this last case, you revitalize your microworld, and you make in perfect alignment frequency-wise between the micro cells, organs, and macro being. That's the reason why we have this wave of happiness effect through us. So this is energy, this is power. And Martinus called it will. Each matter, each living being has this reactive potential, or life force, or gravitational force, or automatic will. That's all the same. So gravitational force of Earth keeps Earth together. Gravitational force of each of us keeps my organism together. The microsystem won't jump out from it. And we now came to this explanation that all the universe is held by gravitational force of each and every human being in it. Now, what is this tension, inner tension? This is basically energy of expansion and energy of contraction, keeping each other in check. The proof for it is our stable body temperature. If energy of contraction wouldn't keep in check the other energy, we would gradually go in liquid state, evaporate, and then go back to radiant state. If the opposite is the case, we would densify, and then in one moment explode and go back to radiant state. So we now come to the very core of explanation of what is the release of the life force or free will. It is this burning out or combustion process when we have a split of mental and physical parts of light particles or photons. In order to make simple for the viewers, like you have piece of wood, which is in deep cosmological terms condensed light. You put it in an oven, and it goes into process of dissolution. And then you get heat, and you get warm room. Why? Because this energy that was previously bound, energy of expansion, was released. The same thing, internal combustion engine technology. Jet turbines in the plane. So we run on the light. What we eat in the deepest cosmic analysis is the light. The same principle. I'm 60 plus. I will be 70 tons considering how much food I took in myself. But my microsystem, like everybody else, needs this energy that is released during the separation of photons, during their incarnation into spiritual space, and because they are super microparticles, so it means that this process is light speed, ongoing cycle.
Drugim riječima, slobodna volja koja je u isto vrijeme i životna sila možda najbolje oslikava primjer sa time da li biste legli ili ustali. U svakom slučaju morate nešto poduzeti i u tom trenutku vaša slobodna volja da se ustanete zapravo postaje sila koja cijelo vaše tijelo diže u zrak. No,
That's correct. That's correct.
Također i kod vatre vidimo ostane pepel na dnu. To je onaj eventualno dio materije koji, eto, lišen fotona izgleda upravo tako kako ga i vidimo. Znači, siv, crn, temeljni i ne može se više razgrađivati. Rekli ste prije da je želja izvor slobodne volje, što je doista i logično. No, također treba čovjek imati, znači, u vidu da slobodna volja ne smije biti u tom slučaju podređena želji. Odnosno, mogli bi se reći, stara narodna, moraš paziti što želiš. Kako se povezuju želja i slobodna volja u obrnutom smjeru?
Precisely. What you have in the animal world is animals act according to blind desire. Why? Because the condition in their realistic space is to kill. We are already calibrated at the human frequencies. Our nerves, our blood, cannot receive the war condition. And what's the war condition? It's outburst of anger. It's ill temper. So all these people of so-called explosive, uncontrolled characters, they show the weak will. The strong will is the opposite. Controlled, intellectualized will. It means they have in their mental area quality of the highest mental energies which influence release of their free will. So it's very important to know how to release your own will.
Drugim riječima, slobodna volja vredi ako njome kontroliraš svoju slobodnu volju. Moglo bi se tako reći. Također, postoje i dodatna nekakva ograničenja u izražavanju slobodne volje. Već smo neka od njih spominjali. Uzalud želja da slobodnom voljom poletiš ako nemaš krila ili ti tijelo nije fizički građeno. No, na ovoj metafizičkoj razini, koja je naravno povezana i sa svakodnevnom, koja su dodatna ograničenja izražavanja slobodne volje?
The main principle is as much as you restrict or block free release of somebody's will, your will be restricted. I can give you one simple example. You have a university professor, not so talented, and he would consciously or subconsciously restrict the normal networking of his bright subordinates with foreign sources of knowledge. And in return, his average paper won't be published in some respectful journal. So that's how it works.
Mada te dvije stvari na izgled nisu uzročno-posljedično povezane.
Not in that way, but always will be restricted in some area. In my time, Raquel Welch was sex bomb. Billions of people wanted to be a lover of Raquel Welch. And all these millions of wishes block and restrict one single wish from that crowd. And also ladies should be asked too to give consent if any from the crowd will be picked. So see, it's complex. Also, micro-beings have their own desires, an expression of free will, pain or thirst impulse. And macro-beings. Man did something that should never have done. It's splitting the atom. Nuclear power is the macro force of the Earth organism. Doing that, we create micro ailment and constipation in the Earth's organism. What it means? You take the elements which should be part of natural cycle of matter. That's the reason why the superior force, when we get in touch with it, we change immediately our signature frequency and our reactive potential and consequently chemistry, creating environment for incarnation of robust organism which will suck out life from us. That organism is called cancer. No way to prevent lethal outcome.
Postoji li načini da se slobodna volja zloupotrebi?
Oh yeah. Many ways. Look, the animals are happy in their own way. And some humans are also happy, which behavior is in compliance with the cosmic laws. On the other side, you have hospitals are full, institutions, streets are full of unhappy people in miserable condition. The reason for it is simple. Uncultivated, primitive people, they want instant gratification. They want all the time the pleasure. Doesn't work that way. So what they do? They indulge, they pamper excesses. And they cannot anymore satiate their desire the natural way. So they need to import chemicals like alcohol or drugs in order to create alternate state of consciousness and give them a little bit pleasure. But at the same time, they decrease sensory capacity of themselves. And worse, they decrease ability to rebuild new human body and consciousness the normal way. So what we get? We get mental wreckages. The same thing would happen with people that are sexual addicts. So love bond is the natural way to satisfy the sexual desire. But they cannot do it, so they look for the opposite. They crave the opposite. It's hell. So that's the reason why you have phenomena like pyromania or pedophilia or sadism. Third category that is very vulnerable for the same outcome is religious fundamentalists. They hate everyone. Infidels, different opinion people, different ethnicity, race, age group, sexual orientation. The fourth group is interesting. We are well aware of them. Those are people that grab. They grab anything from material world and anything from the spiritual world, like epaulets, titles, whatever. And they demand too much from themselves. They also reduce their capacity for rebuilding the normal body. Martinus called that state when you are depleted of will, basically, when you cannot recognize things, cannot remember things, when you are on the mercy of goodwill of other people and burden for the society. They call them mental suicide. In several lives, they will be in a very miserable state, and of course, because trees don't go to the sky, so they would gradually rebuild their ability to build normal body and consciousness, and they will come to their ground zero.
S obzirom da je iz perspektive o kojoj danas pričamo, recimo govorimo o kozmologiji koja proizlazi iz recimo danskog autora Martinusa, on je spominjao kozmičke principe i vi ste ih malo prije spominjali. Zbog čega se ide protiv njih i kako se ide protiv njih, s obzirom da oni zapravo vode svaku stanicu našeg života i kozmički gledano i na razini planetarnih sustava, a ipak protiv njih se ide. Zbog čega? I kad uopće?
That's a great question. It's apparently a paradox, but in fact it's not. The cosmic laws requires for living beings in this cycle of involution to physical world to gradually develop mastering skills over natural forces. And you have minerals, then you have plants and animals perfectly functioning in compliance with the natural laws. Why? Because they operate on habitual consciousness or instinct. No mistake. And then the next in line is primitive man. So it lost part of instinct and gained a little bit of intelligence and feeling, but not enough to have clear picture what to do and how to produce beneficial effects for himself, how to produce, how to invite the pleasure. So whatever he does, he comes into collision with universal forces. As a result, it's pain and suffering. During this miserable state, he repositioned and put himself on a track back to human valuation of reality and developing correct logic, which is the wish of the cosmic principle for this evolution from the physical world. Mm-hmm. So it's paradoxical that in one very short segment in this spiral cycle, primitive man goes against the cosmos. But that's the part of his development. Without pain and suffering, he would never go back on track.
Zbog čega bi čovjekov cilj uopće trebao biti neuvjetovana slobodna volja?
Simple.
Sve je jednostavno.
Yeah. That's the greatest feeling of pleasure and love. That's the greatest possible creativity. That's the greatest feeling of bliss. Why? Because you master all 5 basic energies. Actually, fifth is intuition, but it's always coupled with memory. What it means, when you're able to materialize, dematerialize it, whatever you wish in a split of second. So what it means mastering the energies. You have the energy complex that represents your own will. That must subdue or overcome the energies that represent their resistance. I'll try to explain. For instance, plants, they master the first level of energy, so even they cannot move physically because they are rooted in. A little bit vague movement, but that's not sufficient. And then animals, they master second level. So only 2 out of 5 or 6 basic energies. And then transitional humans between second and third level. So it's long journey in ahead of us. What it means, for instance, if you solve some logical task, or you do exactly as you, according to your plan, you feel good. If you cannot do that, you feel depleted of energy, like discharged battery. That's the proof that mastering is crucial in our life. In fact, evolution is exactly perfecting ability to release the free will and master these basic energies of the universe.
Zanimljiva je činjenica da u svijetu to je teško osporiti, raste antagonizam po mnogim crtama podjele. Naravno, kada pojedine ljude pitate, nitko ne želi nered, svi žele sklad, i kada bi bilo u skladu sa ljudskom voljom i željom, onda bi vladao sklad i mir. Međutim, svuda ipak vlada antagonizam i napetost. Zbog čega? Iz perspektive slobodne volje.
Yeah, we are very much witnessing that every day, and it's in acceleration. You have basically 2 antagonistic forces. One are old world impulse, and one is new world impulse. It's like sun is strong, new world impulse, and resistance or shadow is also the strong. And of course, in time, the sun will be so strong that shadow would cease to exist. Who is representing old world impulse? For instance, in economy, compound interest rates that create stress in the system and requirement for growth and inflation. Then middleman principle is parasite principle, perverted business principle. That's in a normal life, it's egoistic principle, and a collective level of nation is nationalism, populism, it's cultural minimalism. It's all for myself. It's might is right principle. On the other side, you have explosion of intelligence in IT sector, for instance. You have very creative, artistic people, peace-loving people, nature-loving people, conflicting forces. And who is behind it? Micro-will of the Earth. Earth is in final phase, preparation before the cosmic initiation. It means everything in the universe has the purpose. Purpose of the formation of this planet is from fiery cloud to bring ideal conditions, not only physical conditions, which we already have, but mental conditions. So it will be more wars in 400 years. It will be natural and mental catastrophes. That way, it's final screening. Some who are eligible, they will continue to reincarnate on this planet and enjoy a real haven for 2,000 plus years. The rest, they are not eligible. They must go to the planets which are more robust and more convenient for their level of insufficient level of development.
Može li se iz ove kozmobiologije nekako uključiti nasumičnost u svijet, ili rekao bih da prije slika govori o tome da je nema? Prema ovom što čujemo danas, ako se držimo tog.
Yeah, it's again question of local perspective. If you don't see the picture, then you make such assumption that randomness exists. Randomness is very isolated, local, unimportant phenomena. For instance, here in Zagreb, you have trams. You want to get out. You have random choice. Use any door and you are out, if it's not restricted. Then you can get in a swimming pool, any access point. Entering in the country, any access point. So it's no preference. Yes, true, you can go on the street and ask people to give you some number, and you get some string. And people wonder, because causality is not established between the numbers. But that's not important. State lottery, for them is important that its mathematical equation exists, which guarantees infinitesimally small number of winners. Who cares for the actual combination of the number? Unimportant. The randomness is not something uncaused. Randomness doesn't exist in totality. The Atmos proof is perfect functioning of the universe. You have this colossal ocean of forces all the time in movement, and nothing is random. Everything is determined in a perfect way.
Za kraj možda bismo mogli, da ljudima ipak ne bi prisjela slobodna volja, reći koje bi to bile dobrobiti istinskog prakticiranja slobodne volje ako ne razmišljamo o njoj samo kroz prizmu zadovoljenja trenutnih nekih potreba i želja, jer naravno da kada se čovjek zapita imamo li slobodnu volju i ako je poželi imati sljedeće pitanje što uopće ja želim, a da ne pričamo o pitanju tko sam uopće ja. No, kako biste vi recimo saželi ili opisali dobrobiti slobodne volje? S obzirom da nije tako loše ni kada ideš po inerciji, negdje ćeš možda isto stići.
You have basically two options, to be free river flow into the ocean or to block the river flow and then you make the flooding. So it's better to be a good cosmic chemist, meaning able to combine the spiritual matter in a way that produces the good effects for you and for the others. So there are practical suggestions. One is to introduce mental hygiene. Martinu said that the last weapon people will put down are the words. So keep clean your computer screen, your mouth, your consciousness from negativity. The second is introspection. You detect your shortcomings. The third could be scientific prayer. When you pray to the universe, all prayers are heard, but not all are answered. Why? Because they must be harmonized with the cosmic laws. Mm-hmm. Then intellectual is release of your free will. If someone attacks you, forgive. Be grateful for any experience in life. Develop modesty. Develop humility. Love to all principle. Then, of course, it will be very wise for people to familiarize with the spiritual science. That's the science of tomorrow. That way, you open up yourself to be very attentive to speech of life, and that's priceless first-hand experience. Also be creative. You create some software or some song or something, or just help someone in need. It creates good vibes in yourself and in the others. And finally, to realize that peace culture within ourselves, basically the mental and physical health stable, and peace culture among individuals and among the nations, it's not question of will. It's question of development, of knowledge, or better, cosmic knowledge. Then you are free from fears of life and fears of death.
Mnogi ljudi kada pričaju o slobodnoj volji kažu da u slobodnu volju ide i odgovornost, što god da ona značila i šta god oni zamišljali da trebaju biti odgovorni prema nečemu. Možemo opet gledati razne razine odgovornosti prema sebi, okolini, zemlji. Često puta znaju biti tu naravno i kontradiktorni zaključci. Kako je zapravo veza između svih tih principa morala, religije, etike, zakona, koji pak opet svi na neki način barataju pojmom slobodne volje. Neki ga žele ograničiti za dobrobit čovjeka, drugi ga žele proširiti za dobrobit čovjeka. Ponekad čak i bez potpune ideje što bi slobodna volja bila.
That's this wonderful question and requires a clean explanation. Concept of good and evil is man-made invention. So why? Because imperfect people make mistakes and they suffer. And suffering in one moment is unbearable. So they look who is the source of suffering. They don't know that they're utmost source of their own troubles. So they point finger to Satan or to their neighbor who is attacking him, showing hostile characteristics. He's just a messenger. And he wants alliance with the superior force and idealizes that superior force. And to protect him against the enemies and, if possible, to make enemies vanish. The problem is that the other side does exactly the same. So you see establishment of a religious principle which is a pretext for the war. So that's the reason why you have priests blessing people that go to the war, which is totally unacceptable. From this false religious principle that only exists in one short period of human evolution, then you get, but will always exist because imperfect people would exist. You get the morale, and from the morale you get the laws. For instance, even in most developed countries, killing in peacetime is severely sentenced. The same person kills in a wartime, and he gets the medal, high pension, and hero status. Then you have something we call utmost cosmological crime. It's to call the people that outgrown militaristic mentality to go into the war. In war should go only people that have a materialistic mentality because it's good for their development. They will be wounded, will be invalids, and they would reconsider. Also, confiscation of the organ for transplantation is good for medical business, but not good at all for donor and the receiver. It's another story, but in cosmological terms, that's unacceptable. Also, capital punishment or crime out of passion, which is tolerable in some laws. So you see how laws are in fact imperfect. Why? Because they're man-made, based on not so good morale and based on pure fiction, which is the religious principle.
Daniele, hvala, pa do neke sljedeće prilike kada ćemo se opet družiti sa Martinusovom kozmologijom koja je tako dovoljno nepoznata da joj vrijedi posvetiti vremena, pogotovo zato jer je jako sistematizirana kako to već sjevernjaci rade. Želim vam doviđenja i do sretan put gdje ste se uputili.
Thank you so much.
Hvala i vama na pažnji. Mada na izgled metafizičko pitanje slobodne volje možda je i središnje pitanje ljudskog postojanja koje ponešto govori o svijetu, ponešto o ljudima i svrsi i načinu njihova života, ponešto možda i o biti stvari. Nadalje, nosili nas samo nasumično vjetrovi događaja, postoji li dublji red kojeg nismo svjesni i možemo li doista kontrolirati u konačnici svoje ponašanje. Svatko će na kraju zaokružiti sam neki odgovor, a ja ću biti slobodan. Zaželjeti vam laku noć.